All right. Well, we are live. Erica Schultz, thank you once again for joining today. It's been, well, I guess about 11 months since the last time you were on, because we had you on about a month before you went live with Rat City issue number
Yeah.
1. So it's been about a year. But, if anybody's who's not familiar with you, which would be crazy, because let me just give you a little bit of a list of the things that you've worked on: Spider-Man, Black Suit and Blood, Daredevil, Unleash Hell, Woman Without Fear, which is still continuing, Wolverine, Laura Kinney, Darth Maul. You've done, I think it was issue 3, if I'm not mistaken, on that one.
I
Um,
think so, yeah.
yeah, Venomous Black Widow, Hollow's Eve, which I remember getting some signed books from you when I ordered my Spawn bracelet. And then, of course, Rat City, which I'm really excited to talk about. Issue 10, obviously, we have issue 11's coming, which I do write for Comic Crusader, so I got an early issue of 11, so we won't spoil anything, but there's a twist, so everyone get ready for 11. I really enjoyed it. But anyways, enough about everything that you've accomplished, which is absolutely amazing. Erica, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing balancing all this stuff that you're working on?
It is a challenge. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it is interesting trying to balance everything because Spawn isn't ongoing. We're trying to wrap things up. Like Jay is just finishing the art for number 12. I just finished the script for 14. I'm working on the outline for 15 and 16, and I'm always trying to be 1.5 to 2 issues ahead of him. Excuse me. Excuse me. Just because like I want to make sure that if he needs extra time on something or if he has a question on any of the script stuff, that he has time to then, we'll sit down and work it out. Um, but yeah, I mean, Unleash Hell is going for 5 issues. Actually, this Wednesday is going to be pretty big because I've got Laura Kinney Wolverine number 3, Daredevil Unleash Hell number 2, and Spawn Rat City number 11. So kind of taking over the shops this Wednesday.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, congratulations on that, by
Thank
the
you.
way. Also, what was really cool, and we talked about this when you came on, but you are the first female writer of Spawn. It looks like you're going to be joined by another female here pretty soon, though. It was announced that Gail Simone will be on She Spawn, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
She's obviously well known for a lot of different things that she has done as well, but that'll be kind of cool to have someone by your side that you can maybe talk to about everything that's going on in the Spawn world from a female perspective. But I think that's pretty awesome. But I mean, Todd is expanding the universe. It's just crazy. Even Thomas is writing a title that's
He's,
coming up
he's
here.
writing next. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick's coming up. So, yeah, it's crazy how much it's expanded. We've always got a little bit of a taste of the Expanse. We've had a Salmon Twitch before. We've had a few titles, but boy, has it expanded over the last. I mean, you were kind of the start of that expansion when that announcement was made.
Oh,
I think
wow.
about 5 titles at the same time. Violator,
Medieval,
Medieval, yep,
Rat City, Mercy, No Home Here,
yep.
um,
And then the Salmon Twitch, the second
Focus,
Focus.
Salmon Twitch. Um, oh God, the Nick's. I think it's Book of the Dead. I think.
Yes. Yep.
And then, yeah, Gail's doing She Spawn. Gail and I actually talked about when we were at San Diego Comic Con this past summer. We actually talked about She Spawn because she had mentioned that she was going to be doing it. And strangely enough, as we're gearing up to go to the Women of Marvel panel, we were actually talking about Spawn. So that was kind of like, don't tell anybody. We're crossing companies, kind of thing.
So you are already known that Gail was going to be on that when you went to San Diego Comic Con, or did you find out at that con?
I now I'm telling on myself. So I knew that Gail was thinking about doing something. I knew that even before San Diego. And then San Diego was when it was like I was hanging out with Gail and Scott, her husband, and Scott had a Spawn T-shirt on. And I was like, oh, somebody went to the Spawn booth, and she's like, oh, well, I am going to be doing She Spawn now. I was like, oh, awesome, that's great. So I had known that she had been discussing it, but it wasn't like in the works. Like it wasn't like immediate. But now they made the announcement, so it's like it's legit.
Now it's legit. Yeah, we could all talk about it now. I mean, her Red Sonja was pretty amazing. I don't know what her She Spawn version is going to be, but I think She Spawn has a little Red Sonja in her, so it'll be. I think she's the perfect writer for that title, which is awesome. But let's get to Rat City because I really enjoyed Peter. I really enjoyed Quinn. Ray's. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. R-H-Y. Reese.
It's Reese. Yeah, Owen Reese is his name. Yeah.
Yes, which we're in 10, so we got a lot of questions about Reese that are going on right now. But yeah, I mean the story's been a lot of fun. Out of all the spawns, I can't think of a better action figure than Peter's version of Rat City Spawn. So we got to see kind of a mock-up at I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe it was Wonder.
Yes.
Was it?
No, well, they might have had it at WonderCon, but they definitely had it at San Diego because I was doing a signing and they tried to, it was the prototype and they were trying to like stand it up next to me. And I was like, keep that away from me because if I do this and I talk with my hands, if I do that and I hit that thing, I'm going to die and I will be fired. And I do not want that. So there's literally a photo of someone holding it like this. And I'm like, look at that. And they were holding it like gently because I was terrified that something was going to happen to it. But I don't know when, but it is going to be in production soon. So that'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think from a Fawn Span perspective, we are all waiting. I don't know how often you're on Reddit, Erica, but there are like 2 or 3 Spawn groups, and that has been definitely part of the conversation is when is it coming? Everybody has their theories of when it's going to drop, but we're very excited for that one. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Hallows Eve action figure. I have the Daredevil Elektra action figure. But I think the difference is that like this is something that Jay and I came up with and it's going to be an action figure versus a character that was already established. And then, Mike Dowling and I worked and Brian Reber, we worked on Hallows Eve and Sergio Davia and I and CC De La Cruz and Sean Parsons, we all worked on Gang War together. And I worked with Mike again. I worked with Mike Dowling again on Daredevil and Without Fear. So that was fun because we had already done 6 or 7 issues of Hallows Eve together. So when I was writing those scripts, I could be a little shorthand because I knew how Mike thought and he knew how I wrote. So we kind of were on the same page. So that was, I'm not going to say that was an easy assignment, but it was nice to work with somebody who I'd worked with before. And that's one of the great things about working with Jay. I mean, he's finishing issue number 12 right now. And, we have like a shorthand now. We've been working on this book for a year. Giada Belviso, who's the line artist on Laura Kinney Wolverine, currently she's drawing issue number 7, and we've worked on this book for, multiple months together. So I think that, that relationship of artist and writer and sort of being able to anticipate, the product of it, whether it's, what the lettering is going to be or, what you think that the artist is going to come back with. I think that's a really important relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's dig into that a little bit. I mean, Jay is absolutely incredible artist. It's phenomenal. If you haven't picked up Rat City, and then the colors are so brilliant. It's
David
incredible.
Ramos, yeah.
But can you kind of talk about that relationship between writer and artist, and how do you kind of manage that?
Well, when we were originally working on the design of Peter and the Deviant, we were on sort of like this big Zoom call, and Jay would, do a sketch or two and then like put it up in the Zoom call, and then I would, download it and like sketch over it and like make like ask questions and sketch over it and then put that up, and we just sort of back and forth riffed, and what you see is the amalgam of that. You know, it's not just him, it's not just me. It really is like a partnership on this. And because I'm lettering the book, I mean, I tend to, I'll have dialogue in my scripts, but when I get them back and I see Jay's art and I see the interpretation, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna change the narrative a little, like move it in another direction that marries even better with the artwork that Jay, you know, sent along.
I mean, it's got to be kind of a good feeling when you're vibing with your artist like that, where, you know, you're telling a story and they're interpreting that story and giving it back to you. And then you're like, wow, because of that, now I could add on here or make an adjustment here, which actually probably enhances the story, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I use this analogy, you know, too many times. People are probably sick of saying it, but writing comics is making a good sandwich. You know, you've got all these like layers and layers, and they have to work independently yet not fight with each other. You know, I one of the things that I was having a conversation with somebody about, you know, particular artists working with particular colorists, and you know, colors can make or break a book. Letters can make or break a book. You could have the best line artist on the planet, but the inker, you know, makes or breaks it. So it really does make a difference. And it really does enhance everything. And every step that you go along the pipeline of making a comic should be a step closer to it being perfect. You know, I mean, nothing is ever perfect, and I totally get that, but it's going to be a step closer to it just elevating it, you know, elevating that piece.
Yeah, that's awesome. Adam asked, and we kind of touched on this already, but how far ahead do you plan when you start to build out a story?
It depends. So with Rat City, because it is an ongoing, we have multiple things. We have multiple arcs planned. And the way that Image is putting the books out, it's 6 issues per trade. So there are story elements that are going to be introduced in 1 through 6 that won't exactly be resolved in 1 through 6, but you look to 7 through 12, and there's some resolution, and then more things that are introduced. And then you've got, I know, well, with 13, which is the opening of a new arc, we take a very different look at things. There's a very different turn, and you start seeing things from a completely separate person's perspective. And once you set that up, you can see how all these pieces are slowly starting to get together and to build this much bigger picture. We're also, and this is something that, you know, we saw in previous issues, this idea of starting to slowly weave into the larger Spawn universe. You know, for the first arc, we for the most part stayed away from Al Simmons and everybody else. But we are slowly starting to weave our way through. In issue number 10, you know, spoilers, we talk about the curse.
Yep.
And we link the curse to the current timeline of Rat City.
Yeah.
In 13, we've got some stuff that we're looking at. In 14, it's pretty explicit in 14 that you're gonna look at it and go, whoa, okay. So yeah, I can't say anymore.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking.
Everyone's like this, trying to wait for you to spill something.
Now, I know. I need like that Marvel MCU contract where it's like people like jump out from the windows if you say something, you know.
Yeah, I've had Thomas Healy on a few times, and I've had Todd on, and Todd is really bad at this. You probably already know that. And then Thomas is always shaking his head. So I love it. You're in good company if you do spill something, just so you know.
But you know what it is? I think it's because we're genuinely so excited about it. We're so excited about where the story's going, about what fans are going to see, that it's like I can't wait. I can't wait. 11's coming out on Wednesday, but I'm talking about 13 that's not going to come out until April. You know what kind of thing. You
Yeah.
know, we're just so excited about and like genuinely excited and happy to show you this journey and to take you on this journey.
Yeah. Now, I know you've done some shorts before, like 4-story arcs, 6-story arcs, but this is obviously a longer run that you have with arcs. When you map it out, and you know that it's going to be 6 issues, have you already mapped out like the first 6 or 7 arcs, or how does that look like? And how do you write something now and maybe not know if the next arc's going through? Like, I think that would be so hard
Yeah.
as a writer to try and manage all of that.
Well, I mean, the first 2 arcs were pretty were already basically when we were pitching the book, I pretty much pitched the first 2 arcs uh, when we first did it. And then we're starting to see now, and I actually shifted that because something that was supposed to be in the second arc is actually being shifted to the third. And so now that that's shifted, now I've got that little bit in the third arc, but now I have to add to that, which I've been doing. And then, you know, like I said, we're starting to link it more to the larger Spawn universe. So I'm having more discussions with Thomas about what are they doing in King Spawn? What are they doing here? What are they doing there? And how we can start weaving more little, and it's not going to be Rat City's turning into King Spawn or Rat City is turning into, you know, medieval, whatever, or Gunslinger. It's not going to be that. It's just, I want to acknowledge that these other books do not have to be read to follow Rat City, but I'm acknowledging that the Rat City timeline and universe is starting to sync up with what they're doing in King Spawn, Medieval, Gunslinger, and all of that. Scorched, like that line.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Because I mean, we have now the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger, so we've gone backwards, 150, 200 years, and then obviously have Rat City where we're ahead, 60.
yeah, 100 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you have this entire universe that's been expanded, but probably altogether 300 or 400 years. So there's just so much room to look back at what happened in the past since you're in the future and recognize that. Obviously, Rat City being probably the biggest thing that you could take away from Spawn. That's going to be kind of a lot of fun and maybe a little intimidating because you have 360 issues of history with Spawn, just Spawn, not including all these other titles that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've read in my lifetime. I mean, I've gone back and started reading, and I've read up to issue 60, which I know is a lot far away from. But I've read, for the most part, the entire run of Spawn. I haven't read I haven't read the Angela and the original Violator minis and a couple of the minis, and I haven't read all of Scorched or King Spawn, but I have read the main line throughout. And I have the giant like phone book size compendiums now. I have 1 through 5. So I've gotten through 1. I'm partway through 2. It's so funny because like I try and read before I go to bed, and you put this book on your lap and you're like, my God, it is so heavy. And then you're sitting there flipping through, and then you're exhausted. You get through like 1 issue because you're exhausted because you have this little physical weight on you, and then you got to like lift it up and put it on the side table and be like clunk, and try not to like drop it on the floor because God forbid, you're going to put a hole in the floor. But yeah, so I'm trying to get through to like reread that stuff, and I'm sure I could probably just start at 300 and move up. But I like seeing the evolution of the character. I like seeing how Todd took the character and like it's not a straight line. And I think that's the thing. I think that's what makes Spawn so lasting. I mean, we're at what, 365, 366.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The fact that Al will always have his primary mission.
Yeah.
but there are so many other things that are going on, and so many other things that are going to influence him and distract him from that. And that's like pure, Joseph Campbell, Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Yeah.
This idea of having someone, yanking the hero off of the path, distracting the hero, creating chaos over here to pull the hero away from that main goal. And it's fun to sort of play with those like classical archetypes and such. And some people would say, oh, well, it's so predictable and it's dated. I think that anything, even if it's something is predictable, I think if it's cool and it's fun and it's written well and it's drawn well, even if it is predictable, I still think it'll be enjoyable. And, I'm not looking to win a Pulitzer with these books. I'm looking to work with a phenomenal artist, Jay, obviously, and David Ramos, the fantastic colorist. And, working with Thomas and working with Todd and working with everybody else at Todd McFarlane, like Yvette and Imani and Shannon and Ryan, all the really cool people that are there. And I'm looking to create a fun, enjoyable experience, a fun, enjoyable story that people are going to like, that people are going to hopefully go back to. Like, I'm going back to the compendiums. Like, hopefully they'll go back to the stories, so we're not creating Shakespeare, but there are elements of storytelling that I think are very classic that we are touching on. And that, like I said, when I was rereading, the compendiums, you can see that in the original stuff that Todd was doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Incredible. The first time that I had you on, we were talking about Spawn. And at the time, I think you said, we're looking at 12 issues. Obviously, it could be an ongoing. We're not sure what will happen. And that's with any title, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. But when you said that you were working on 13 and 14, I kind of got excited because I feel like we're moving forward and we're in really good shape for a lot more of this story to continue, which congratulations, by the way. I think that's awesome. I feel like Peter and Rat City is a pretty popular character. Obviously, what Shay did on the design with your, influence and all that, he looks badass, and his legs are incredible. Yeah, he's incredible. So congratulations on that. I think some of us were wondering, because we don't see sales, we don't know what's going on. We just buy our comic and read and we enjoy it. But I'm glad to see that it's been successful enough to continue. So congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. I mean, I joked with Thomas and I said, I'm going to write it till you fire me. And he's like, challenge accepted. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like, I mean, there are a lot of places that we could go with this story, with these characters in general. And I'm excited. I'm excited to explore Quinlan's past. I'm excited to explore Peter's past. There's a character in issue 10 who seems like a throwaway character, and you're going to find out that she's not.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, and I'm really and what I'm trying to do is I'm not going to do like one issue is completely dedicated to one character. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and mix and match, and also show that even though these characters are very, very different, they've emotionally gone through similar situations. To show like the more you're different, the more you already are the same kind of thing. Yeah. So I think that's going to be really cool and fun, and and that trope of the brooding hero had a terrible childhood, kind of thing. We're gonna see that might not exactly be entirely true. Well,
that's kind of exciting. I mean, I'm loving the path that Peter is taking since he's got his legs. He still doesn't really understand how everything is operating. And we see in 11, when you think nothing's going to happen and something does, we'll just leave it at that. Get out there on Wednesday and pick it up. But I love that kind of struggle of experiencing something, not really understanding why you experienced it, not knowing when it's going to come back. Will it come back when I need it? Like all these things that were kind of like drawing on within his experience. I think is a lot of fun. Do you find that to be like, what is the one thing that you've enjoyed the most out of the first 10 issues that we all have right now, as far as each character? Is there a storyline that you're enjoying more than the other?
I think that I did not expect to feel so passionate about the chairman as I have. And if you read issue 10, you know that the chairman has a very dramatic situation that occurs. And I did not expect I didn't think that I was going to go down that route. Cause like I said, like we pretty much had stuff, already worked out. But when Jay and I were talking, I was like, you know what? I think we can do this. I think we can do this, and I think it can be not shock for shock's value, but in service of the story.
Yeah.
And what we're going to see in 14 is we're definitely going to see how the actions of the chairman at the end of issue number 10 are going to affect what's happening in 14.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. Yeah, because the characters that have been developed so far with Reese, obviously Quinlan, Wally, you obviously have Peter, Eamon has been a lot of fun too, which is just insane in and of itself. But I'm absolutely loving these characters and the development that you've had. Do you have like a favorite character outside of Peter, which I assume would be the favorite?
I mean, Peter obviously is number one on my list simply because, he is the protagonist of the story. He's the person that we are writing the most about. I really liked the woman in issue number 6 who was narrating the documentary and was standing in the bathroom of CBGB's and was like, it smells like piss in here.
That was funny, yeah.
I liked her. I also really like Dr. Nometz because she's trying to do the right thing, and it's really, really hard. And there's a part of her that is afraid of Dr. Bose, but then there's a part of her that's like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I think that I think what happens a lot of times in science is that like people get involved in science to do the right thing, and then whether it's the money or the influence or, whatever, your motives start to change. And I think she's having a moment where she doesn't like where she is.
Yeah.
She doesn't like who she's turning into or who she has turned into.
Yeah.
So she's going to have some stuff happen.
Yeah, I love that. Adam has a question right here. Is Peter going to get a cog type of a mentor like an Al early on, or is he just going to try and figure out things as we go?
I cannot say. There's a part of me that thought about in the beginning, because when we were first working on the first issue, at the end of the first issue, sorry, spoiler, it's been out for a year.
Yeah.
At the end of the first issue, you see Al. Peter sort of has this hallucination of Al.
Yeah.
And there was a thought of, is Al going to be in Peter's head? Like, is Peter going to hear this voice? And the voice is basically Al speaking to him. And we went back and forth with that. But to a certain extent, Reese was like Peter's mentor.
Yeah.
But not in the same way as teaching him how to use the suit and teaching him, what he is. Because you have to understand, Peter is not technically Hellspawn. He's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he's not
there's
a Hellspawn.
Brotherhood between him and Reese too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we learn there's.
So careful.
I can't say. I mean, okay, so there is a brotherhood between Reese and Peter, and there's a brotherhood, and we see that Reese was like an older brother to Peter. He was his commanding officer. He was there for him, and we see little snippets of them in the past, like in issue number 9, when Peter, you know, we make a joke in issue 2 about Peter having Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
And then in issue 9, we see him and he's literally in a confessional and the only thing that is standing in this church is a confessional. It's just bombed out. And Reese is the one who is like, yeah, you need something. This is going to make you feel better. Do it. And Reese gets reamed out by the commanding officer of that time, but he takes the heat because he knows it's something that Peter needed.
Yeah.
And that's important. And Reese is obviously the one who is going to put himself in the line of fire to save Peter. And he actually does. And he does, literally.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of a mentor like Cog, specifically, like Cagliostro, I don't see Peter ever having somebody specifically like Cog, but I do see him finding other people who will help him grapple with what he's going through. Because he said it, this suit runs on instinct, and sometimes our instincts aren't great. Sometimes our instincts lead us to the wrong side, you know, and that's something that Peter will be grappling with.
Yeah, incredible.
Like in issues 7 and 8, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
I promise we're not asking questions to try and get you in trouble either, Erica.
No, but like Peter rips people in half.
In half, yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the horror. The 7 and 8 were like the horror issues.
Yeah. Now, how, from a writing perspective, because I'm trying to think of all the things that I've read that you've done, I'm not sure you've gone that far into terror of ripping people in half like that.
Well, so not that long ago, it was 2018, I had a horror book called 12 Devils Dancing.
Okay. Yeah.
And Dave Acosta was the artist and Andrew Cobalt was the colorist. And it came out from Action Lab, and I'm not even going to get into it. Action Lab has its own, you know, stuff. But I do still have the book, and I sell it at conventions and such. But it was a body horror serial killer story. Oh. And it was not for the faint of heart. Like this is a book that I'm not going to sell to a kid.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, there's nudity, there's serious body horror in it. There is a moment of child abuse and such. So that's not something I'm going to sell to kids. But I have written horror before, and I've also Daredevil Unleash Hell is a Red Band book. Yeah. Because it's a Red Band book, we have the it's not Marvel Max Red Band, but we do have the go ahead to show some pretty graphic things, like people getting, you know, dressed like a deer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things like that. That's kind of what we're allowed to do in Daredevil. And it's funny because I had sent a shot from 12 Devils Dancing to the editor, and I said, I don't know if I'm the person for this, you know, Red Band book, but this is a book that I did do. And he's like, okay, glad I already finished my lunch. I was like, you know, you said we could go graphic with the, you know, with the horror, so why not?
Are you going to draw on some of that inspiration and some of the future issues as well in Spawn?
I think so. I mean, there's horror. It can be they could be psychological horror. They could be physical horror. There will be some physical horror, as you know. Well, you've already seen 11. There's some pretty gnarly stuff that happens.
The way it ends is pretty gnarly. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. And in 12, there's I really hope that, because I letter the book, I really hope that they leave this one particular sound effect in. There's these two double spreads, one right after the other.
Really?
In the book. And there's this epic moment that is, I love it. I love it. That's all I can say is I love it. And there's a sound effect that I put in there that I really, really hope they keep in.
That's so cool. I love it too. That's awesome. Now, from just a writer's perspective, Erica, I feel like you've done a lot of different genres. Where would you like? What is your favorite? Is horror at the top of your favorite genres to write, or
I wouldn't say it's at the top of my favorite genre. I mean, when I was younger, I wasn't a big fan of horror at all.
yeah,
Um, and I would say I really like writing crime dramas. I really like writing. The first comic that I ever wrote was called M3, and it was a crime story, sort of a cat and mouse spy thriller crime story. Um, and I like to weave that in and out a little bit, especially on books that I have a little more leeway with, like Spawn Rat City. Um, but there's, I like the superhero stories. I like the superhero adventure stories. Um, I think it's different. I think I like to read things differently than I like to write,
mm,
because one of the things is that if I if I read too much of one genre, then my brain's going to go, oh, you could do that. And I find myself trying to recreate what I had just read versus coming up with something itself. I really enjoyed, I did a YA urban fantasy series called Forgotten Home that I really enjoyed. Um, like magic, it's like child soldiers, mystical world, kind of Hunger Games, meets Evil Queen kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that. That was an 8-issue series that Dark Horse put out. Um, I don't know. I think if I'm stuck on one genre for too long, though,
yeah,
I feel like I need to move it to something else, which is why I think we've been sort of going back and forth in Rat City. We have 2 issues that are like pure horror, and then we go into like the cat and mouse, and then we go into this and that little, conspiracy theories and things like that.
yeah,
As long as it still fits within the overall narrative,
yeah,
that's what I really like.
yeah. Um, on Salmon Twitch, Todd has written the first 10, and he has mentioned that moving forward, he's going to have guest writers on Salmon Twitch because you have kind of done that like police procedural. Is there any like desire that you might be able to do like a small 4-part arc?
I I mean, I have a lot on my plate right now. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna. I will never say never.
yeah,
Um, I love Sam and Twitch because I think that they are, especially in the original Spawn series, they are the
mhm,
audience's link. They're the regular guys. There's nothing special about them. And for a while we thought it was Bootsy and Bobby, but then we learned, if if you haven't read it, it's 30 years old.
yeah,
If you haven't read what happened to Bootsy and Bobby, it's 30 years old.
yeah. It's been a while.
Um, but this idea of them being us seeing Spawn through their eyes,
Mhm.
and them being the only normal people in this story. Um, and I just think that it's very Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah,
The
it
straight
is.
guy and the slob.
Yeah,
But even though Sam is a slob, he's still very competent. He just
yes,
appears like he's a slob.
yeah,
And Twitch is the super quiet guy who always knows what's going. He sees everything, and he's so unassuming that you think, oh, look at this little guy, whatever. You can like break him like a twig. He knows everything. He's got everybody's number.
yeah.
You know, I mean, if Todd said, "Hey, do you want to do 3, 4, 5 issues of Salmon Twitch?" Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they're fun. They're very quippy, and yeah, I would do it if he asked. Today, there's a lot on my plate, but you know,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
awesome. Well, Erica, let's talk a little bit about some of your other titles because although I wanted to really catch up on Rat City and I wanted to congratulate you on the first 10 issues so far,
Thank
and I'm
you.
so happy that it's going past 12. Right now, you have the Laura Kenny Wolverine that hits this Wednesday. We have Daredevil. That's the Unleash Hell, which launches this Wednesday. Obviously, we have Rat City 11. Am I missing anything that's coming out over the next couple weeks?
Um, you know what? I'm gonna check my spreadsheet
Yeah.
because I have a spreadsheet where it lists all the release dates of
Yeah.
all the books. Um, so in March, I'm actually going to be at ZapCon on the 29th of March in Wayne, New Jersey.
Hmm.
So if you're in Jersey and you want to come by, that's great. In terms of what's going to be in stores in March, on the 19th of March, you're going to have Rat City 12, Daredevil Woman Without Fear, trade paperback, and Daredevil Unleash Hell #3.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's all coming out in March, and then Wolverine #4, Wolverine, Laura Kinney Wolverine #4 is on the 26th.
Beautiful. And then I have spent time on your website, ericaschultzwrites.com. That is, I don't want to say this and have you doing bracelets for the next 20 days, but a lot of us have been purchasing bracelets. There's all kinds of different ones for different like things that you enjoy.
I have a whole bag that I still need to photograph and put on the site.
Do you really?
This whole bag still needs to be photographed, and it's in a sealed Ziploc because I have a kitten, and I posted videos of her like stealing them from me and whipping her head around with them and everything. So yeah, so I have plenty that I still need to photograph, throw up on the site and everything.
Yeah.
But I think I did. This is the bag of them that have already been put on the site because I separate, and I did do another Spawn one.
Yeah, you got the double
Spawn.
one. Mark showed that to
Yeah.
me. I don't remember when we were talking. He goes, "She did a double one." I'm like, Mark, she's always sold out, and now I know why. I think he just waits on your website for you to put them up there, and he just buys them all.
I don't know. I honestly, I didn't think when I had done them, I just thought, oh, what the hell? And I didn't think that it was a matter of like I could not keep them in stock.
Yeah.
Can you charge more for the ones that the cats played with? Well, I will admit that there's probably some cat hair woven in there.
Let me see.
There probably is. I do my best to try and snip it out, but it's, you know what? It's 100% cotton. If you want to throw it in the washing machine, you can throw it in the washing machine.
Yeah.
I've actually literally thrown a pair of jeans because I pinned them to my jeans. I've thrown a pair of jeans in the washing machine with a bracelet still pinned to it. It went through the washer and the dryer, came out. I was folding the clothes and go, oh, that's where that one went. Picked it up, pinned it to the jeans I was wearing, and finished it.
Yeah.
And it was probably a Spawn one because I seem to only be making Spawn ones. And now I have to look and see if I have enough red and green in my little case for the Spawn ones. I might have to change the reds up.
Yeah, I love that you have this little hobby that you do on this side. It's so cool. But yeah, no, the bracelets are awesome. I put mine on my Spawn right here, one of my mini Spawns. But yeah, I love it. And I'm just teasing Mark. Mark is an incredible human being. Really enjoy him. So anybody who's listening, you want all the Spawn news. You have Spawn Hunter, who is Ty, and then you have Mark, and he goes by Tiny Spawny.
Tiny Spawn.
Yeah, and they're just good guys, and they just love with a passion Spawn. If you ever want to see the most amazing collection of Spawn, anything, those two gentlemen, I've been to Ty's house. He lives in Colorado, and it's mind-blowing. He has
it's ephemera everywhere. Yeah,
it's insane. And he travels for work globally. And so he'll be in Japan. He literally has an entire run of Spawn in Japan. He has lighters, like Zippo lighters from Japan that are Spawn watches. It's incredible. So, and then on top of that, if people want to follow you on social media, it's just Erica Schultz Writes on social media, correct?
Well, it's for the most part, it's Erica Schultz 42.
Okay.
So it's Erica Schultz 42 for Twitter, Blue Sky, and PixelFed, which is an alternative to Instagram. I am still on Instagram, and Instagram it's Erica Schultz Writes, and my website is ericaschultzwrites.com. But I do have comics up there. I have my indie comics as well as Spawn and my Marvel stuff. I do also on my list of things to do is I have to put up issue 11, and the new stuff that's coming out on Wednesday. I have to put that up on the website because I didn't want to put them out before street date because I don't want somebody, I don't want any trouble. I don't want trouble from anybody. So I have I'm setting it on my things that it'll post
Yeah, I could vouch. I have some signatured items. I also have Hollow Z and a few other things that I got from you, Erica. But yeah, her
Yeah,
website.
I sign everything. The only thing is, I do have to say this. So the Daredevil Unleash Hell is a poly bag, so it comes in a sealed bag. So I did write, if you want me to sign it, I'm gonna have to open that bag.
Yeah.
So if you get it and it's signed and you're upset that the bag was opened, that's the only way I'm going to be able to sign the book.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. And if you don't say anything, then it's going to come to you unsigned, because I wanted to keep it in the poly bag. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Yep.
I try to cover all bases.
All bases are always covered with you, Erica. I love it. Well, Erica, I want to be super respectful of your time. I know you need to have dinner, and I'm sure you're pretty busy too with everything that you're writing. But I just want to thank you once again. Hopefully, in another year, when we're on going into issue 24, we can have you back again. Or if you're doing anything else that you want to talk about, we would love to have you back. But I do appreciate you. Thank you for joining me today, and I wish you the very best for the rest of the week for sure.
Thank you, you too, and thank you to everybody who's been supporting the books. And stay safe, be fun, and take care.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining me today. Awesome, Erica.